there's another return on investment that I think a lot of us miss, and that is, can you put out ads to that first book, maybe lose some money on those ads and get reviews, readership, followers on the platform that you're running the ad to?
Hello, writers and crafters. I'm Valerie Isan.
And I'm Erick Mertz.
And this is episode 125 of the podcast. And it is August 2nd, 2023, as we record this. Today, we're talking about when should we start paying for ads? That topic has come up a lot in the author sphere, where I'm from anyway. So I think that this will be a good topic to just touch on briefly. We don't have any new patrons, so thank you and big hugs and high fives for our current patrons. Thanks for believing in us and in the podcast. And you can go to patreon.com/Valerie Isan, IHSAN. And for as low as $1 a month, you can get a postcard from me, a shout out on the podcast. We can make announcements for you, read your book blurbs, that sort of thing. And other tiers get lots of awesome other goodies as well. So patreon.com/Valerie Isan and patreon.com/Strange Air Stories for short stories in the paranormal mystery genre that Erick has written. So that's a fun, I was going to say channel, but what would you call that? The Patreon page is fun. I like going to your
I never
page.
know what to call Patreon. Like, it's kind of weird you say that. I never know, like, to say, like, oh, check out my Patreon
feed
account or offerings.
Page.
I never
I like page.
I think it's page is probably right. Yeah. It's a fun page. I like it.
I still have one last ticket for the Writer Craft Retreat next month. It's a shared lodging ticket for a female identified person. It's a big old teepee and it's got 2 twin beds in it. And the $650 covers all the food and lodging and coaching and instruction. And it's just a beautiful place. I really love it out there. So I hope you'll join us. Go to valerieisan.com/shopping or /retreat if you want to check it out and see what's all included. And my group coaching cohort, that starts super soon. It's September 2nd. You think that's so far away.
That is coming fast. That is 1 month away.
I know. Like, it is really getting close. So September 2nd is when the group coaching cohort starts, and that's a 3-month process. And it works out to about $165 a month. It's $500 for the whole thing, but you can do monthly payments if you want. So valerieisan.com/shopping for that. What about you? Any announcements on your end?
Ooh. You know, this August 2023 is the month, you know, like I'm going on a vacation for the first time in a long time. I'm moving, like life is just happening. I can't even think of an announcement past those things. I'm sure there's things happening in my professional life that I would love to.
Your announcement is you're moving. That's more. I guess that's author update. So did the inspections all go through and everything?
Everything's all good. We're, come home from vacation, get the keys 2 days later. And, if you're watching this on video, this isn't going to be the last time you see this office, but I think within a couple of episodes, there'll be a new background. So that's not me being held hostage. That's me actually.
You're going to hold up a newspaper with today's data.
Yeah, holding up a newspaper. Gosh, that's going to make in future mystery movies. Like, how is that going to work? Like, was somebody going to hold up an iPad with a? Yeah, that's going to be a mystery trope the kids won't even identify with. Yeah. So sooner or later, there's not going to be this background. There'll be a different background. Probably still books, but it'll be a much lighter room because it'll be on the second floor, not in a basement.
My background will change in a couple of months too. Well, 1 month, I suppose, because I'm getting new floors, thank God. So we'll get new solid surface floors to the house, and maybe I'll clean my office as a result. So
yeah,
that'll be the background change for me, a clean office.
I'll tell you, here's the genuine author update is that in the process of doing this, it doesn't look like it right now because I haven't done much in this part of the house yet, But we have been boxing and getting rid of things. And one of the things I went through was my old archives, just boxes and boxes of like half finished stories and screenplays and things. And really, I dug down on Sunday. It was a huge project, and it was both sad, like to see like how many things I'd started and how many, like I could, some of those stories I could look at them and say, I remember when I got this idea. I remember when I got that idea. It was kind of sad that I like, here I am X number of years later and those stories never came to fruition. But there were some of them, I'll be really honest, that I looked at them and said, whoa, I am really glad I still have this paper around here, because this is like, there was some stuff in there that I thought, like, why did I give this up? Like, I've been itching to write something like this. And so I don't know. I think the whole process of moving changes mindset, and like, I'll just be in a different space. I'll be kind of in the suburbs. I'll be, it'll be a lot different environment wise, but I've just rediscovered some old ideas that may be worthy of my attention. So
that's exciting. A new
yeah, for
shiny
that.
thing though, Erick. I don't know. It's
What'd
an
you
old
say?
shiny thing. I said it's a new shiny thing though. I don't know.
Well, look, I mean, this whole Strange Air series that I've been working on for the last few years, I think I've said this on this podcast, but if I haven't, like this goes back a really long time. Like I've been noodling on this idea since 2006. Um, there was actually a news story in the Portland metro area that got me started on it, and that was just like the beginning of the snowball. And then I started adding and adding and adding. I now have 3 bankers boxes full of like, these are ideas in this story world that I haven't looked at in probably, I mean, some of it that long, like some of it's probably been 15 years. And not that I'm at a loss for things, but I know that I want to do new wrinkles with this. And I know that there's maybe adjacent storytelling that I want to explore, similar genre, maybe, kind of maybe not in the same county, maybe it's something different. That's all there. Like it's like, I was looking at like, wow, this was a great book. Why did I stop writing this? Or, so it'll be interesting. I obviously can't go back and like fix all the broken toys, but there's some broken toys that are worthy in that box. So I got really
Nice.
excited on
That's
Sunday.
cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
What's going on with you?
I applied for a literary fellowship, so I won't hear back until
Ooh,
January. So I just have to like let that go and not think about it anymore.
who is it
But
with?
um literary arts,
Mm,
the Portland one, the
cool.
Oregon one. I've been doing a lot of manifesting and mindset work that I feel like is really pertinent to, my author business. So that has been really my, I don't want to say obsession lately, but it's been my focal point of my
Focus. Yeah.
attention, really has been working on that. And I've been thinking about, like I talk a lot about core message of story, core message of memoir. And so I've been actually thinking about the core message of, myself, like what is the thing that I really want to say to my clients and to the author world. So that's kind of also been on my mind too.
Mm, those are important. I think yeah, for all the reasons we've talked about numerous times. I think you have to get in touch with those things. You can't just be productive all the time. You have to put that production or that what you're doing into the context of like, what does it mean? What's important?
Yeah, it gives
Yeah.
you a direction to focus on. And I think it's good to reflect every once in a while, a couple times a year, maybe, am I heading in the right direction? Am I still talking about what's important to me? Am I still writing about what's important to me? And yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of where I'm at right now, just reevaluating like, am I actually speaking from my core? And I want to be an authentic author and what does that mean for me? So that's going on in my mind.
That's that's important.
I'm trying to remember, I just finished a book. I didn't write down the title. It was Wildwood Magic by Willa Reece. I
Oh,
just finished that. I finished the Ramit Sethi book too. I Will Teach You to Be Rich or something like that. And I just started The Heir of Blackwood Manor by Hester Fox, I think is the author's name. So that's what I'm reading now.
Interesting.
What about you? What are you reading?
I am reading On Fire Island.
Oh yeah, that's right. You were telling me you were
Rosen.
really liking it.
Yeah, and as we discussed off air, like I am new to women's fiction. I'm not new to women authors. I'm not new to female protagonists, but I'm definitely new to that genre. And it's just it's interesting in that it doesn't conveniently fit in, the standard mystery science fiction. It's not one of those genres. It's a different observation and I've really enjoyed it. I've really liked the level of detail. I like the level of perception. I think there's a level of perception in this book, and if it's indicative of what women's fiction is, then I really feel like I need to read more of it, because I feel like it's unique. It's unique, and like it could really be played in an interesting way in like a mystery, in something a little more hard boiled. If you took that observational eye and applied it to a detective, or it could be fun. So really enjoyable book. And it actually, like, the characters are all like kind of East Coast, they're East Coast Jewish folk, and like my wife's Jewish, I'm from the East Coast, so reading it's like, oh, I remember barbecues like that. I've been to that Shiva sitting before. The food, it's like in all East Coast books. This is what I love. All East Coast books, it's food. They make me hungry. I'm reading it at 11 o'clock at night, and I want a bagel with cream cheese in the worst way. I can't. And it's one of those things.
For lunch yesterday.
Oh, well, here's the thing. In Italian, the word is wooly, right? My mom says it all the time. When you get a wooly for something, you can't not have it. Like it's a craving that you can only be satisfied with the thing. And I've been reading this book, and all I've wanted is like whitefish salad and like all these Jewish delicacies. East Coast. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I'm not going to be on the East Coast eating this stuff. I might have to go downtown Portland and get some, even though, like, I don't even know, Henry Higgins Bagels doesn't cut it. No offense if you're listening, but like, anyway, so it's been great. It's really evocative of place and like sense. And I love that.
That's awesome. I do remember I read a book of hers as well. Eliza Starts a Rumor. So that was on my list and finished already too.
Women's fiction, right? I'm gonna like keep saying it, because I'm making lists of books for my mom. My mom works at a bookstore to get me, and I like surprising her with things I'm gonna ask for. So I think I'm gonna be looking up like, what are sort of quintessential women's fiction books, like the new ones, like new stuff, and see if she can get them for me, because I like adding new things to my reading list. And so, yeah, if I can add new genres, it's always eye-opening.
I'm looking at my book list. I keep a list of all the books I've read for the year in the back of my planner. So I'm looking through to see some of the starred ones, because I like to read that genre a lot. What about the London Seance Society by Sarah Penner? I liked that one. And it's women's fiction, but has, of course, that like fantasy element, I suppose. It's a seance. It's a ghost story, which I like.
Right. Somebody recommended
what I think is really cool about women's fiction, or just like, I guess, general fiction, mainstream fiction, is that it's not genre fiction, but it can have any element of genre in it, so it's mainstream fiction, but it's a ghost story. So that's fantasy. Or it's mainstream fiction, but it's about a missing husband, and the wife is, racing against time to find him before the blah, 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 which is thriller, so it can have any element of any genre fiction, but it's just written in a slightly different way.
Yeah, I think like genre is like a grid, right? Like before we used to think of it like an aisle, like this is mystery, everything in it is mystery. But I think now, like, genre is a grid, and you can have anything on the top or in the side axis, and you just cross them up. Like this is science fiction, mystery, women's fiction, horror. You can things cross up, in a really fun way, because I guess what, we're not bound by anything anymore as authors. So
yeah,
yeah.
very
I'm
cool.
really excited to what I'm reading next, and that is I'm going on vacation, and I picked I'm reading Duma, the Stephen King book that takes place on the Gulf Coast of Florida. I'm going to read that while I'm gone because
How do
it's
you
the
spell
ones
that? What is that? Duma
it,
key?
it it's Dumakey, and so it's one of the rare Stephen King books that doesn't take place in Maine.
Okay.
I am going to be on the Gulf Coast of Mexico. Um, I may as well read the Stephen King book that takes place in a very similar location. And so I'm kind of looking forward to that really nerdy crossover of like real life and reading life. So
Nice. All right.
and
Well, let's
I also picked up one of my favorite, like this is, we're now tangentialing, but I picked up one of my favorite author like books about writing.
keep
This was a
looking for that. Every time I go into a used bookstore, I look for that.
Writing in Restaurants, David Mamet. I found it on eBay. This is just a guide to like how to be a writer, not the writing craft, but the like the mentality,
The
the
author
you know
life.
the part in you that is the writer and how to cultivate it and what. Yeah, it's a great book. So that may go on vacation with me too
Hmm.
when I'm not
Only
feeling
two
like a
books. How
writer.
long are you gone?
A week. Oh, there will be more than
I was
this.
going to say, I'll just finish one of those on the airplane.
Yeah, I could finish the Writing in Restaurants pretty fast. It's a pretty great read. I'll probably bring I have the stack right here. I was going to also bring In the
Oh,
Woods by
that's
Tana
a great
French.
book. Very
You've
good.
read this?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Um so yeah, this
Did
might
you
also
read
come.
Renee Denfeld's Child Finder? She's a Portland
No.
author. So I read Child Finder first, and then I read In the Woods not too much later after that. And they have a similar vibe.
Okay.
I felt like a
Okay.
kind of almost a similar premise, but they were both great. You know, sometimes when you read a book and you're like, oh, this really sounds like the one I just finished reading, and it's kind of disappointing. Totally not the case for both of those books. I recommend both
Okay.
of them.
Got it.
All right, let's talk about ads.
Do
Should
it. That's all I got to. And cut. No, just kidding.
Well,
Ads,
so
yeah.
okay, full disclosure, I have
Okay.
never run an ad.
For anything?
Um, before my very first book, I was trying to decide what title to do it. And so I did a very short, inexpensive Facebook ad with two different titles to see which one got clicked on. And I don't think it happened at all. But it was my first like foray. It was before like anybody was talking about how to do Facebook ads. It was back in 2013, I think,
That's
or
pretty Wild Westy when it
2012,
comes
you
to
know?
Facebook
Yeah.
ads.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't count that. And I
No,
only
I
did it
wouldn't
for
count
like
that.
a week. So no. The answer is no. I've never run an ad, any kind of ad. So the reason why is because I have only three real books. Let me caveat that. So my first book was a memoir.
Right. Not a
My
real book.
second book,
Just
did you
kidding.
just say not a real book?
Yeah, I did, but I'm
The
kidding.
first book I wrote was a full-length memoir. The second booklet that I wrote was just a how-to book on how to grieve, but it was like, 30 pages long. It was not, it was just, I was giving it away. So I kind of
Right.
don't even count that. I might even unpublish it someday because I don't know. It's not my
I'll
genre
challenge
really.
that when we just talk. I'll challenge
Okay.
that idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the next book I wrote was a novel, women's fiction. And then the next book I wrote was, I mean, it wasn't even the next book I published was a combo extended version of the first memoir. So what I did was I put the memoir and the how-to book on grieving in the same like a box set, I guess.
Mhm.
Um but I didn't write, that wasn't a new book. It was So I don't really count that either. And then I published the second memoir. So in effect, I had, at the time I was thinking about ads, one book in each genre. I had a memoir, a nonfiction book, and a novel. So in effect, one book. When you think about ads,
Right.
and the idea of having an ROI, a return on your investment, you need to have more books for them to buy after they buy the book that you are putting the ad on.
Sell
Otherwise,
through.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't have that. So the recommended, like, not industry standard, but like the recommended course of action at the time was not to run an ad on a book unless you had like 3 books or something that would give you that
Right.
sell through.
Right.
So at this point, again, I still haven't really got that. I've got 2 memoirs now, so I suppose I could at
Right.
some point. And actually, I do want to say I did do some ads, but they were just a very short campaign, and it was just around launch. So it was like free Booksy or bargain Booksy, or,
Right.
like those type of ads, which is a different kind of ad maybe than, I mean, we can talk about both
It's
of those.
promotion. It's not an ad
Promotion.
per se.
Okay.
It's promotion. I think they're separate. I think we should talk about them separate. I
Okay.
think ads, boy, when we talked about talking about this, um, ads, they're out there. Okay, so look, there's the first thing I want to talk about is like, I think all of your assertions are wise. Like, I think there's you have to know what your return on investment is. And sometimes that return on investment is, I'm investing 25 cents into every click, and that results in a 1 in 10 clicks leads to a $3 sale, and that $3 sale leads to $10 in sell through, and that pays for the ads. That's like a spitballed like relationship of ad spend to return financially. That can certainly be your ad, like your return on investment. I think when you look at authors, a lot of the authors who are now in the stage of their career where they're looking to make money on their series, that's the calculation they're doing. I think now that calculation is probably at least 3 full-priced books. I see that a lot. Like, you need like the discounted book 1 in series, your loss leader, followed by 3 full-priced books, and then you're in the sweet spot. Depends on your platform. If you have multiple series and you have a big readership, you could probably up that game a little bit. So yeah, like, that is the financial return on investment. But there's another return on investment that I think a lot of us miss, and that is, can you put out ads to that first book, maybe lose some money on those ads, and get reviews, readership, followers on the platform that you're running the ad to? Are you
Growing your
going to build a
mailing list.
mailing list?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, look at that.
those are all like very valid returns on investment. It's just I guess the first thing to say about ads is they are expensive.
Mhm.
They're not cheap in any way. I think that and they are highly technical. At least from when you start. I mean, once you get into them, they become a little more intuitive, but they're technical. You have to know, who am I targeting? Where do they live? What time of day do you want the ad to run? Yeah, you have to have a lot of knowledge of your book and your series and the market as
And
a
the
whole.
patience to trial and error too.
Yeah,
I
and so
I would
part of that,
that
yeah,
would be
part of
number
that
1 for me.
right. And that's where I've like balked a little bit at it, because like, it is, you have to say, all right, I've run this ad for a week. It's underperforming. What do I tweak? That's where I think a lot of authors get freaked out. What to change? Do I target? Do I retarget? Do I add keywords? Do I remove keywords? Ads take time. And nowadays we've gotten to a place where whatever platform you're advertising on, the platform itself gets smart as you progress, so it learns how to serve your ads better. Google does that. I mean, when you're talking about ads for your business, Google my Google ads they inform me on a daily basis how they're learning to reserve my audience. They extend the time of day that the ad runs. They change the demographics by who's clicking, but you still have to have some knowledge of how to get it up, how to change it when it, to retarget it, because that machine learning isn't going to cover all of it. But here's the other big caveat to throw at all of this. Maybe it's not the caveat, maybe it's like the overarching statement. And that is, we are in a world where everything is pay to play. Like it's very hard as a creator to do anything organically. I just think it's a fact. You can launch anything and be extremely successful. You just have to be willing to pay to break through some of that noise. Because if 20 people are launching a mystery book today, and you want to be the one that gets noticed, eventually you got to pump some money on an ad. It's just the way it is. Whatever you do, if you're going to build that mailing list and you're going to get past the big group promotions that sites are running, then you have to get ads. You have to run something that brings in a different audience. I think it's just part of the market we live in. That's the creator market in general, is like you have to pay to play.
So I guess my question is, like, when do I start playing? I mean, I know that I can right now, and I know that even without the number of books, like you talked about, the Lost Leader, and then the books 2 through 4, in your series or genre. It doesn't have to be in a series, but the same, like 3 books in the mystery genre or 3 books in the, women's fiction genre or whatever. Then you could run an ad and get return of investment on the ad itself, but I could still get return of investment on, like, growing my mailing list or, something like that. So I know I could run ads right now for, like, mailing list growth,
right?
Or even,
which translates to sales, which translates to engagement.
yeah,
those are
long-term wise. Yeah,
right.
That would be
That's
more
the
of a
long tail.
long-term campaign. I mean, the campaign itself might not be long, but the mindset, it's long-term marketing mindset, which,
if you're
I'm
doing
all
that,
about, but
you're looking at, like, I'm going to spend, like, these are not numbers that anybody needs to quote, but like, I'm going to spend $10 to bring in 100 readers. Then you have to have that calculation. Of those 100 readers, 50 are going to stay on my list. 20 of those are going to be book buyers. Those 20 book purchases, are they going to equal the $100 I put into, the money I put into the ad? Those are big calculations. When you start, though, the answer to that question is, it's like gambling. You don't go into the casino with money you can't afford to lose. You have to say, if I've got $1,000 to put at ads in 6 months, you have to be able to come out of that 6 months with nothing and be okay with it. Because it just can't, it's an unpredictable thing. And also, look, even if I was reading a successful ad story the other day, and the person had gotten to the place after a couple of months where they were putting in like $60 a day in ads. And that led to, like, I think they said like $85 a day in sales, which is great. Because but that, like, if you really break that down, it's $25 profit, and $25 profit after taxes is probably like 17. So, like, it's a long game to start making that incremental growth. Now, you can't get to the big numbers that people are talking about without first getting through those small numbers. So the other time, you have to have the money, and then I think it has to be like, you're going for it. Like, you are in the cycle of, like, I'm ready to make author business my business, and that's got to be where you're at.
And doing ads and marketing in that particular way has to be something that you're willing to do.
Yeah.
Or something that you're willing to pay other people to do.
Something you're willing to pay other people to do. Now, I'd also like to kind of fragment this conversation and say that if you are running an author business, if you are a ghostwriter, editor, cover designer, blurb specialist, like whatever you are, the time to do those ads is like yesterday. Because there is a lot, especially with Google, there's a big incentive to, being kind of not first in the market, but like if you write blurbs, I think Brian Cohen's the guy that does blurbs, right? If you're the person if you want to put out an ad, like I'll write the blurb for your book, guaranteed success. First off, I don't believe you if that's your ad. So like, change my mind, guaranteed success. But if that's your product and you're going to put it out there, you want to get on Google as quick as possible so that the next person who's running that same business, you're ahead of them in line. And Google does this sort of like, the longer you run ads with Google, the better your ads perform. And if you're the first person in on a keyword, they're gonna put you in the front of the line in front of that person, all things being equal. So you want to be in there as quickly as you can, for that reason alone.
So you're talking about Facebook ads in particular then for that?
No, I'm talking about Google, like Google ads for your business.
Oh,
specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you want to up your business game, which here's another secret about running ads for your author business. Google, this is great. Organic traffic, right? This is the traffic that just organically comes to your site by virtue of the content and its positioning naturally in the Google sphere. Like somehow, as soon as you start running ads, your organic traffic doubles in addition to new ad traffic. So Google definitely is like, we like your page, but we like it better when you're paying $10 a day for ads. So again, it's a pay-to-play world. You can do a lot of things organically. I'm sure that some really crafty people could say, hey, here's how I do it organically. I don't pay for ads. But that's changing. It's changing, and I guess you could do any of the things you do with ads without them, but you're going to work doubly hard, triply hard to get your books and services in front of people. So you either have to have the time or the money. I would choose to pay for the ad.
I hadn't thought of doing ads for services. When I think
You
of
should.
ads, I just think of like book ads, BookBub ads or.
I run ads to a book. Pardon me. I run ads to a free book, and that free book, I track it through BookFunnel, the downloads of that book that come through the ads. And that's sort of hey, if you want to learn how to ghostwrite, if you want to learn how to hire a ghostwriter or work with a ghostwriter, here's your free book. And that's like one of the many like ad configurations I have, but business is much better. Traffic is much better. Everything works, and the ads more than pay for themselves. So, but that also took time. I mean, those ads took a couple of months to like really focus. So
what is your strategy for specific ad campaigns? For instance, what I'm talking about is when when you put out when you launch a book, that's a short-term campaign. Maybe you're running ads just for the week that the book is out, or the first week, I mean, or you want to run an ad on book 1 because you're launching book 2 or something like that. So you have a specific time frame. But if it's like a Google ad for your business, like how long do you just perpetually do it every day?
Google ads run, it's like on a daily budget. So Google calculates my cost per click. So here's kind of the way if you're running long-term ads, it's Google runs an ad. Google gives you a cost per click based on your criteria. Like, and so think my cost per click is like 30 cents a click. And so it runs $10 worth of ads every day at 30 cents a click. And it is looking to lower that click rate. Since my site doesn't have like a store, it can't track the conversion of like this person clicked on his site and bought shoes or whatever. I don't have a store. So failing that, it just is getting me as many clicks as it can get, because those clicks lead to inquiries. Those inquiries lead to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So it runs all the time. I don't run anything special. I probably should start diversifying a little bit. However, the new Google ad format is basically diversified. Is the diversification's baked in? Like, you can no longer just run an ad for something, a granular ad for editing and a granular ad for ghostwriting. Now Google takes all of your keywords, creates multiple ads for you, and then serves that ad to what they believe that ideal person is. So it has this sort of like ad cloud, so to speak. And it's like, oh, this person in Portland, Oregon is searching for a ghostwriter. Erick Mertz, Portland ghostwriter. Let's serve that person that ad. Oh, someone's in Portland, Oregon looking for this. Let's serve them that ad of Erick Mertz's. So it's a smarter ad
so
service.
You still write the ad copy. You write the ad, but they choose which one to show.
Basically, you give it the language, you give it the keywords, and you give it the language, and it serves different ads with different keywords to different people based on their criteria.
That sounds way easier for the author, because I'm thinking like, God, I'm gonna have to like hire a copywriter to write an ad because that's not one of my strong suits. And
for Google, writing the ad is it's really simple. Like, it's even before this, it was simple. The person that does my ads, I had to ask her, like, break down your time, just because I'm curious. She basically said, like, writing the ad takes 15 minutes. It's pretty simple. The key with Google is, are you targeting the right people at the right times for your ads? Like, if you were a memoir coach, you wouldn't want to target 18 to 25-year-old males. That's just not, like, there may be somebody in there, but there's very likely more 45 to 60-year-old males, maybe your better demographic. You need to know when your demographic is on and the time of the day. Do you want your ads to run as soon as possible? Do you want them to run in the afternoons? Like, you kind of, there's like a bit of, that's where the gamesmanship comes in. Is your audience international? Is your audience regional? Is it a different ad for the international client than it is for the regional client? Those are all the things that drive down your cost per click. Really, that's the game with Google ads, is just get that cost per click as low as you can and make sure it targets the right client.
So this is totally off topic though. We were just saying when you should run the ads or when you should start running ads, but what do you do to drive down that cost?
You target the right way. You target the right keywords, you target the right demographics, and that gets your keyword as low as possible. And realistically, there's certain keywords that are very expensive, and there's certain keywords that are less expensive. And that just Google takes its data and says, if there's 1 million people searching for X, a click for that is going to cost more because it's a more competitive keyword than a keyword where there's 10,000 people searching for it. So if you're smart, it's just like keywords for your book listing. If you're shooting for mystery, good luck, because those big mystery authors are going to beat you to the top of the Amazon list every time. But if you're savvy and you find those smaller keywords, those more niche keywords that get you to, yes, it's a smaller audience, but you can be the master of a smaller audience and do pretty well. And just understand, you're not going to beat, you're not going to beat, what's Sue Grafton in mystery. You're just not. I'm sorry. She's just there. That's her space. You're not going to beat Stephen King. That's reality. But if you find the niche keywords and you get into those and you see where those niche keywords cross over with the big keywords, you can make a lot of money. Like, ghostwriter is a very expensive keyword. And I think that, not very expensive, it's pretty expensive because there's a lot of people competing for it, and those jobs are huge. So they're willing to spend a lot on ads to get there, right? But if you find a niche keyword like screenplay ghostwriter, smaller audience, but also less competition, the keywords cost a lot less. So it's just it's gaming the system. And yeah, you could probably throw more money at ads and get to those bigger keywords and compete with them. It's just, do you have the stomach for spending $100 a day?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, not yet.
So for someone just starting out playing around with Google ads, for instance, or any Facebook ads, whatever, is there any ad, is there a lower threshold for, money per day? Like, could you do $1 a day? Could you do 50 cents a day? Could you do a quarter a day? Like,
I don't think you could I think with Google, you have to have some money in there. I think it's got to be like $5 a day, simply because it can't. And this might be them just saying like, we want more of your money. I wouldn't put it past, corporate America for that message. But I think they say like, we can't adequately serve your ad and learn how to serve your ad on $5 a day. Like they need more data to make that ad work. So, but I think the recommended is like, start with what you've got, and take that if you've got $2 a day, which is $60 a month or $50 a month, whatever it is, play with it. It's just go in there, run $2 worth of ads for a week, look at how they perform and say, okay, now I'm going to change a word, or I'm going to change a target. I'm going to add Canada to the United States and target differently. I'm thinking now of Facebook ads. I'm going to focus the age group, change the interest a little bit, and see how they perform. Once you get to a place where it's like, wow, I'm getting $4 for $2, then I would say up that to $5 a day and see if you can't get $10 for $5. That eventually is going to flatten out and plateau, but figure out where that it's optimized. Like, okay, this is the peak. If I spend $20 a day, I'm getting $50 in sales, and that's about the best I'm going to do. And then maybe you run a different ad or you serve a different product. Every product has I think it has like its sort of plateau. Like you'll find that place where it's like, set it and forget it. And that's not just me like guessing. Like there's a lot of people out there that say, yep, I've been running this $1 an ad worth of ads every day for the last 5 years, and the book sells this much, and it's just where the income comes from. And there are, I will say, like I keep saying it, like, well, you just do this until it works. There's things that aren't going to sell. There's just, there's things that aren't going to sell. Sometimes you're trying to sell ice in the Arctic, although now there's less ice in the Arctic, so you might do pretty well in that business. So but the proverbial like ice to an Eskimo story, like, yeah, you might like run into a place where like there's just, your product doesn't sell, and there's a point where ads are gonna, the good thing about ads is that if your product isn't viable, they'll show that to you. They'll reveal that fact to you, and it may take you years without ads, but like if the series doesn't have big legs, you'll find out pretty fast when you run ads.
So I know that another question that comes up in the author sphere around ads is, doing what you're saying, like monitoring it and checking in with it and tweaking it and checking in again and seeing what's working and what's not working, that takes time. So how much time do you spend marketing versus writing? How do you fit that into your author life, your author business? And like, for instance, how much time do you spend doing this? You said that at the beginning it takes a little while.
In the beginning. It was a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours in a week in the beginning, because it was more me hemming and hawing. I also had somebody working on it, and I didn't really need to be because she was giving me a weekly report and giving me ideas on what to do. I put, at this point, with 3 ads that are just running all the time, like I'm not putting I check the ad every morning to see what the organic traffic versus paid traffic is. Paid traffic goes up and down in a predictable way. Like Fridays and Mondays are slow. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday are very busy days. Saturday's a wild card. As long as the week always, as long as the curve every week resembles the week before, I know the ad is performing as expected. There are peaks and valleys. Like I can tell when someone's on my site because they come in from an ad and then they bounce around for a while. So I can see all that movement. There's days when I have an enormous bump in traffic because something, somebody found it and maybe gave it to a friend and said, hey, what do you think of this guy? I mean, I can anecdotally explain away anomalies. I'm looking for days that are like, this is when I knew that things were wrong on my site a few months ago. Like I had a day where there was like, oh, I went from 130 visitors yesterday to 0. What? Whoa. And now there's 0 today. What? That's not right. So like, the anomalies will come up but I spend very little time on it. Very, very little time. Now, when I come back from vacation, I've got some like time to like, what am I doing differently? What am I going to do new? New house, new things. Mm-hmm. I may very well like look at this and say like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to run ads to it. And that'll give me a whole new thing to start. But right now, ads are running. I may increase the dollar budget. I may not. It just depends.
So you just spend a couple minutes every morning looking at it and that's it?
Looking for anomalies. On Fridays when I get my weekly report, which I don't get anymore because things have been really cruisy. I might talk to Kate a couple of times in a month or, once a month just to.
Oh, so you're not doing it. You're hiring someone else to do all this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I said that. Like Kate, I have someone who basically tweaks the ad, gives me her interpretation of the reports so that I'm like, and so I'm learning from her. Now I'm looking at the things with her eye. But in the beginning, I relied on her to like, hey, Kate, why is this happening? And she'll point things out, like, hey, remember this day is Prime Day. So this is lead up to Prime Day. Ads get more expensive or, she'll is aware of all that stuff and gives me the context for what I'm seeing.
Oh, do you recommend having someone run your ads then? I know yeah.
I think if you're getting to that level where it's a money-making venture and you're looking to it's growing business, I think it's time or money. You can spend a ton of time learning these things. And it can take some time. Or you can spend the money. I had a trade with a client and she said, like, I'm an ad person. How about we trade your edit on my novel for ad work? And I said, that's great.
Yeah, let's do that.
But she's honest. She's, and I think just if you want to find somebody who's relatively inexpensive and who's responsive and has a good reputation and knows how to work all the different ads. And we experimented. I mean, we did some Facebook ads. We did some video Facebook ads that didn't work, but and we may, I've talked to her about wanting to do like YouTube ads, those kind of things. That might all, again, this is what's going to happen after vacation and moving is like what comes next.
So how do you find someone? As the final question.
I think it would be asking around the author community. I would ask established authors who are running good ads what they're doing and then see what they say. I always believe in word of mouth. That's just, to me, that's the best way to do anything. Say people are going to know who they like working with. Mm-hmm. And I would say the one thing before we go, don't hire one of those big firms because those big firms are going to cost a lot of money and it's going to be impersonal. Find someone that knows authors, find someone that fits you, and go with that person to start with. If you become like a tycoon and you want to get a big ad firm on it, then great, go get a big tycoon ad firm, but not right away.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for your expertise in this matter. I had no knowledge, but I was interested in the topic. So,
and it's one to return to.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think that is another one of those reflective pieces of the author business, like always checking in, even on the ads granularly, but then also like, do I want to keep doing this? Like, is this worth my time? Should I hire someone else? Is she worth my time? Like, or worth my money, excuse me. All right. Well, next week, we're going to be talking about content for writers. Should I start a blank? Should I start a
Oh,
blog? Should I
yeah.
start a YouTube channel? Should I start yeah. So content writing is great marketing for your books and for your author business. But if that thought like stirs fear into the soul, do you really have to do blank, blank, blank? So that's what we'll be talking about next week. So until next time, thanks for listening. Bye for
Talk to
now.
you soon.